Once upon a time, I was hurt, angry, sad. And usually there are two ways on how you can deal with these emotions. One being keeping them inside yourself, locking them up, ignoring them until it gets to the point of eruption. You lash out, whether it's in the form of a mental breakdown, tears, or even violence. The second way will be processing these emotions in the form of therapy. And with that, I don't mean going to an actual therapist and talking about your issues, but therapy in general. It could be in the form of sports, journaling, or in this case, what I'm going to talk about today, art. I think we reached a point in social media where the social part kind of falls flat and everything revolves only around creating and consuming content. Recently, I think pretty much everybody has heard about Instagram's AI stuff. For those that didn't, Instagram updated their policy in which they stated, quote unquote, "We also use information shared on Meta's products and services. This information could be things such as posts or photos and their captions. Information which they will use to feed and train their generative AI." But basically a lot of artists felt betrayed. And I'm not going to go too much into the thematic of getting your content scraped, but more about the fact that artists have less and less opportunities to share their art without having to go through obstacles such as algorithmic struggles, policy changes, etc. Basically more and more being taken away from your art. This goes especially for those that want to turn this into a job, because we kind of depend on reach, and reach has declined significantly. Some might say, just make short form content. Me, being someone that has indulged in short form content in the early years of TikTok and on the birth of Reels, and has actually seen significant results, all I can say is that there's just a lot of problems with it, especially on Instagram. The value of each viewer is tiny, especially if you see it from the perspective of a consumer. Somebody that scrolls for an hour with no attachment to time, without even realizing that they've been scrolling for a whole hour, will see your video and either think it's cool or it sucks and scroll past towards the next kick of content. Yay! So only a tiny fraction of people might get interested in your work, which means statistically speaking, you will need a lot of numbers to get a few people on your ship. That is when you actually manage to make some of your content go viral in the first place, which, to be honest, seems to involve a lot of luck these days. So there goes short form content. Now, of course, you kind of have to also apply to a wider audience, because how else will you compete with millions upon millions of people? So you kind of are forced to take a specific direction, which is usually in the form of fan art or a specific style. And so if you compare it to 5 years ago, you could post straight up crap and people would have seen it. I mean, just look at this video of mine on TikTok, which I posted, I believe, in 2020. Yeah, it got 1 million views. Or this pose of my early traditional art. Thousands of likes. And so now that we covered the issues with social media, now everybody also wants to scrape your work to feed their AI. So you're forced to constantly move apps and glaze your artwork with like a filter that kind of sabotages AI training, which honestly nobody wants to do. And it's exhausting at that. So in the midst of it all, where all seems lost, I kind of want to talk about something that I think a lot of people know, but tend to forget, and all it takes to get back on track really is just a teeny tiny reminder. So once you're in the spiral of making content or improving on your art technically to land a specific job, it can get very hard to get out. Because in your head it's like, next character, work more in style, work more in anatomy. I gotta make 2 short videos of the 2 characters I just did and maybe post to work in progress to max out content for the week. And you find yourself in a place where the connection between you and your art kind of gets lost. You solely create for the purpose of creating content rather than art itself. And so my point being is, in all this, there's something that will stay ours for as long as we breathe. Something that will help you maneuver through life and all its difficulties. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your expression through art. Now, as silly as it might sound, just give me a fat minute to explain myself. You as an artist have the rare ability to deal with your emotions without having to go through obstacles like finding a person to confide in, which nowadays is quite tough, to be honest. And just a disclaimer, whatever I'm going to talk about right now does not relate to mental sickness and like this being the solution to mental sickness where you should actually be going to an actual professional or a therapist, despite a relief being possible through those activities. But what it actually revolves around is you being unable to process a certain event or bottle up emotions in general. As an example, I will use my latest drawing. A person trying to push forward while being held down by peculiar creatures. What happened was, generally speaking, being in a spot where you're not studying in university or doing a regular office job and decide to go down the creative route, you are bound to get a bunch of negative comments. And I'm not talking about your work not being appreciated or it being bad. I'm talking about the fact whatever work you put in is not even recognized as work. Like, it does not even exist. Whatever you do, it's just a waste of time.
You should envy them. You dropped the sport. You dropped the studies. You dropped the father's job offer. There is no you money. Are just like your father.
And besides that, it's also the constant frustration with human stupidity. Hatred that is absolutely misplaced, prejudices, biases, nobody thinking for themselves no more. Basically, the idea of 1,000 people saying that one guy is stupid, and instead of you making your own opinion about that guy, you just believe what those 1,000 people say. It's infuriating. And so all these things that kind of felt like dragging me down daily and being stuck in the back of my head are symbolized through those creatures. And so I felt all these emotions build up, and what happens for me personally is images shoot in my head that best convey these feelings, and so slowly and steady this artwork comes to life. I start drawing and try to put in as much of myself into this as I can, and the further and further I go, the more I feel how all this bad energy is leaving my body, and so I can move on. Now here comes the interesting part. In my head, that person walking through the water is me, and the creatures are my problems. But for the potential viewer, it might be a whole different interpretation, whether it's 1,000 people or 100 people. And perhaps it can help them feel a sense of understanding, like, bruh, I feel just like this. Thank you, somebody, for showing me that it's not just me. And so through that, you're not only making art that helps you as a person, but might help you potentially gain meaningful viewers, and through that build an audience that truly cares about your art, and not just because you make their favorite characters. Now, I'm not saying this is solely what you should be doing, always making meaningful art and no more studies or working for the algorithm. I'm saying that you should never forget that Sorry. Anyways, you should never forget You should never. When do you think you're gonna stop? Can you shut the f up? When do you think you're gonna stop? Why? Cause I'm bored. Look, I've seen all the other videos you did with the past me, and I kind of have this little idea. Improvement. Get to the point. How about you stop doing this? Stop doing what? This, you and me talking. Why are we doing it? Cause it's fun. Are you having fun? No, but... Hey, what a coincidence. Me neither. So how about you just continue with the video? Brother, no front, but... you. I think that's a you problem. How is that a me problem? Ever since you came back from the dead in the last video, you changed so much that I do not even recognize you no more. I mean, you're not screaming at me. You're not enslaving me to work 12 hours a day, and everything I do, you call boring. You must have gotten something wrong. I'm looking out for the viewer, which will benefit you in the long run. You know, max out retention rate, make your video go viral, so you can finally start earning those big bucks. But we never even made these skits for the viewer in the first place. And why is that? I can't believe this, you pessimistic little Sitting down, editing this, and seeing how we repeat the same line in 20 different intonations and goofing around is the funniest thing ever. Especially when the video is done, you know, sparkling a little bit of music over it. Watching it with your friends is having a blast. I mean, you used to be doing this, not me. I was the guy slacking around. What's wrong? No, you were absolutely right. So you're telling me you're posting videos on a platform where other people see your content, and it's actually all about you? Yes! Jimmy, what the f***? No, that didn't sound right. Jimmy, what the f***? Why should I do this if not for me? Trying to make the best video possible that I would want to watch. Being my own self-critic. I mean, you used to beat the living... Actually, let's maybe not talk about that. Point is, if I don't do something I enjoy, I might as well drop this and become a engineer. You know, imagine I put on a mask and do something just for the sole purpose of getting a bunch of views. How long do you think it's gonna take for me to burn out? You know, 2, 3, maybe 4.
What is that? 3, 4 what?
Maybe 5.
Okay, you made your point clear. Let's go back to work, okay? Get on with the video.
So what I wanted to say was, you should never forget that you're making art for exactly one person. And that person is yourself. I've seen both sides of the medal. On one side being the content machine neglecting all artistic development, and on the other solely focusing on artistic development and expression. If you want to take the route of building an online presence, try to find a way that is kind of a mix between those two without falling too much into one of those categories. Most importantly though, do not betray yourself and who you are as an artist. I'm still trying to figure out where I fit in and all this right now with the long form content, but I feel like with these kind of videos I seem to have found my place. Also in the end, I'm my own biggest self-critic, and sometimes the feedback might be harsh but necessary to improve, and it seems like it worked out in my favor. You know, looking at my first videos and thumbnails and scripts and oh my god. Anyways guys, don't beat yourself up or let these motherfuckers bully you. Yeah. Truly thanks for watching guys, and I will see you in the next one.